What really surprised me was if any other NLP practitioner were to read this book, he would actually think that this is a book on NLP. Anybody would look at this book and say that this is a standard NLP textbook with a little bit of, shall I use the word, better language or flowery language than what NLPers are used to, okay? And the reason I say that is many of the exercises that I see have found itself integrated into the world of NLP. There is an exercise here in the book where it talks about stilling the beta waves or working on reducing the beta frequency. And one of the things that you do that is by relaxing the tongue. And I remember when I went for my first NLP training with the co-founder of NLP, Dr. John Grinder in Sydney, Australia, one of the first things that he taught us in the group to work on what he would call as reducing the internal dialogue or stopping the internal dialogue was to relax the tongue. Now, I did ask him where it was, and I'm sure he wasn't very clear about where it came from. I remember asking Judith about where she thought Anna got it from, and I believe she said it came from one of the yogic teachers that she was exposed to. I may be wrong, but that's the kind of thing that I got. I thought probably it all comes back to India at the end of the day. So if at all anything, we'll take the copyrights back again to our country at the end of the day. I don't think NLP has got anything original to offer to start with. For me, NLP is nothing but it's a copy of everything. The more I read Anna Weiss's book, the more it occurs to me that John Grinder sat in one of Anna Weiss's courses and probably did not give credit to her. That's what I keep getting on a regular basis. But I think whether they give credit or not, they do know that there's nothing original in NLP. The only thing original in NLP is what is known as the eye accessing cues, which is that they discovered that the eyeballs, which are an extension of the brain, move in certain directions to be able to access. So when people think about visual information, hey, what did I have for breakfast? Then their eyes go up. When people think about the last telephone conversation they had with their father or mother, the eyes go sideways. And when people are feeling some intense feelings, their eyes go down. So that discovery that eyeball movements help us access different functions in our brain, that is the only piece of original information I know from the world of NLP. Nothing is original, and it's only for the benefit of humanity. That's fine.
That eye movement thing is phenomenally useful, isn't it? Because I've actually seen other people do NLP and they were blocked and they couldn't get anywhere. And then the person said, well, look in this direction. And they went, oh, there's that piece of information. Sure. And it's not that they couldn't have done it in an awakened mind meditation, but, there's 25 minutes worth of preparation to get down into the deep to access that information. If you can move your eye a certain direction and grab the piece of information right there, that's pretty phenomenal to me.
This is just observations that I've had over the years, is that, first of all, the people I've seen that are using the Jen lens focusing almost invariably have perfect awakened mind pattern. As someone uses that and goes through the core transformation process, when they hit that core state, they've gone into the evolved mind.
My personal thing is that Connie Andreas and Steve Andreas, the couple who were students of Grinder and Bandler in Boulder, Colorado, I think these two people have taken NLP to different depths and dimensions than what the founders did. And it's kind of really looking at it, NLP has kind of gone beyond the founders at the end of the day. I have noticed that when people do co-transformation, which Connie brought about in the 90s or maybe 80s, I forget even when she started that, the co-transformation still has certain content, which is there's still a dialoguing that happens. So there is a certain amount of beta waves that come when you are dealing with the co-transformation process. And yes, there are times when you go and access the unconscious, so it has the potential to go to evolve mind pattern. But the latest work that they do, which is based on the modeling of the road to enlightenment as given by Ramana Maharishi, an Indian saint, who comes with the philosophy, who am I? So this is an NLP modeling of that particular way of thinking. The wholeness process, I believe, gives more of an access to the evolved mind. Shall we all engage in a quick eye movement integration? Would you all be just interested? So those of you do it, very simple. Take an event in the past that is distressing, which could be something that makes you sad or scared or angry. So something that makes you sad, fearful, or angry. So take an event from the past. And what I'd like you to do is that as you think of that event in this moment now, notice what is the level of distress. And if you could create an arbitrary scale where 10 is the most distressful and 0 is no distress, no discomfort whatsoever, on a scale of 0 to 10, what is the level of discomfort as you relive this memory? So you could say like 4, 5. I'd like you to plot 6 points. So extreme left, extreme right, top left, top right, then bottom left, bottom right. So these are 6 points at the end of the day. What we're going to do is very simple. We're going to think of this particular memory and move our eyes. And I'm going to move my eyes and move my fingers. The key here for it to work well is to think of that memory, relive the memory, and have the eyes move. Okay? I would recommend for the duration of this exercise alone that those of you who are wearing glasses can remove your glasses, because your glasses tend to make your eyes focused in a particular place, so you may not get it. So just hold that memory, please, in your mind, and just follow this. We'll do it for 30 seconds, 40 seconds. So think of that memory that is distressing, and I go from here to the left, back again. Then from here, I connect to that point, move it, back. Then I go down, go all the way down here, connect, come back, connect, there. Think of the memory, keep thinking of the memory, go back there, come down. Then use a circle to connect all the 6 points. Use a circle to connect all the 6 points. And I notice myself breathing a little better, which is an indication of release. And bring your eyes back to the center and then close your eyes. I'm not expecting anything dramatic to happen, but notice what is the level of discomfort that you have now when you think of the event on a scale of 0 to 10. And kind of tell me your number at this point of time. The only thing is that the IEMT for me is a simple technique where what happens is that any memory where there's a charge to it, whether there is anger or sadness or grief or guilt or any kind of emotional charge, what you do find is that when people think about it, their eye movements are not smooth. So that was the fundamental observation. And what's being done is that at the first level of intervention, and I'm calling it level 1 intervention, which is that you're just working on the basic emotion. It may not be a long-term change in the belief or on the capacity or working on the identity of the person. But if somebody comes in and says, I'm really upset about what my son did today, and then you want to work with that, then what happens is by bringing the emotional content down, you bring down the beta. Because you will find that when people are upset, they have a very splayed beta. Their internal dialogue is going rampant, and what then happens is that does not allow the energy to kind of run. So by doing the IEMT exercises, you'll actually find what's happening is the beta starts contracting and you start getting the closing in of the beta waves. So that's what I've noticed. And thereafter, then we have stuff to go and work with and deal with in the theta part of it, the delta part of it per se. So that's one perspective.
Well, the main thing that it strikes me is that really anything that you ask people to do that focuses their awareness is going to decrease the beta and give them a chance for the alpha.
Absolutely.
And then another thing I've noticed, it happened because I got to where I was falling asleep in meditation. And so I started searching for ways to not lose my alpha bridge so I didn't drift down. Well, it turned out I wasn't actually falling asleep. I was falling in trance, and it was what I needed to do at the time. But nevertheless, I hooked myself up a whole lot to the mind mirror, searching for solutions in addition to those 10 I already knew. What I found was the best solution was to tense my eyes of all. And that was the thing that kept the alpha. alpha bridge there.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Which is a little counterintuitive because we're told to relax the eyes so we can get the alpha. But if you want to hold the alpha and keep yourself from, so this makes sense to me that you're having that you're making a correlation between alpha and eye movement, not just on the basis of focused awareness, but also on the basis that the eyes really generate that alpha.
Yeah, and I think it correlates to what we would call as peak performance in athletes or even businessmen, which is that when you're doing peak performance, you cannot afford to go to sleep. So you do have a certain amount of stress in the system. We call that as eustress, as opposed to distress, which is stress which is healthy for you and that's required for you, as opposed to distress, which is affecting your system. So in a peak performance state, we would have certain amount of stress no matter whether we liked it or not. It is a requirement in the system to be able to do it. And I imagine your tensing your eyes was contributing to the eustress factor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
I think something that Anna always seemed to stress, and which we learned from her, was rolling the eyes up to
Exactly.
increase alpha, or sometimes looking down to increase alpha. There's a small segment of the population that increased alpha by looking down. Now, looking in the different directions, I don't know if we've ever actually done that. I've never done that, but it would be interesting to begin looking at the eye movement to see which one for each individual increases alpha.
My suspicion would be Gary, that what happens when you move your eyes up and what happens when you move your eyes down is that you access, when you move your eyes up, your visual cortex, and when you move down, you're accessing your kinesthetic part of the brain. I think it's basically, in my opinion, causing sensualization in a more deeper manner and hence creating the alpha wave.
Yeah.
That's my sense. I mean, it looks intuitive to me from this place that could be the reason what's happening. One of the things that NLP emphasizes on simplification. So the simplest thing that you have as a tool, a pattern, is that of state. What is the emotional state? What is your mental state? The more simpler precursor to that is how your body is being held and the physiology. And prior to that is the breath. How do you breathe? And I think one more step to that is your attention. Where is your attention? So we say that attention is the smallest and the most powerful variable of change from an NLP viewpoint. That where you place your attention is the fundamental place in which you are able to make a change. And in the awakened mind pattern, when you work through this, you see that it's the attention that keeps shifting and changing. If you look at 6-step reframing, it's typically a personal transformation meditation where what you do is you introduce beta, you go into the theta and you dialogue with that part of your subconscious. And by the dialogue, you're able to get certain answers. That's typically what a 6-step reframing is. So John writes in his book, Whispering in the Wind, that he was not well one session when he was teaching NLP. And he went and made a request of his subconscious mind, saying that if it could help him pull through in spite of it, he would really appreciate it. And he said that he went into a trance and he taught something. And next day he recovered. When he came back, he noticed what he wrote on the board, and it looked like something that he was not even familiar with. And that's what was coming as a 6-step reframing. But as I was reading the personal transformation meditation, I was wondering if he found himself in Anna Weiss's class and picked that off and said, this is 6-step reframing. But what it is in 6-step reframing is that for every behavior that you have, which is happening automatically from the person, the important thing is everything is being maintained and run because of what we call as a positive intention. There's always a positive intention behind the behavior. So what you basically do is that you dialogue with the subconscious to ask about the positive intention of that behavior. You basically set up a signal system with the unconscious. So in 6-step reframing, you look for sensations in the body, which can then be amplified for a yes. So if I were to think about that, which is the behavior that's biting nails, then I notice the part of me that's creating an ask for it for a signal, and I can notice kind of an itchy sensation in my throat. Then I go inside and say, if that is a signal, please increase it for a yes and decrease it for a no, So then what happens is I say, please give me a yes, and I notice a bigger itchy sensation. I ask for a no, there's a very minimal itchy sensation. So then what I have is a yes-no signal system. So 6-step reframing uses the yes-no signal system to dialogue with the subconscious to find out A, the positive intention, and B, then to be able to go inside and ask the unconscious mind that keeping the positive intention in mind, can you look at other behaviors that deliver on the positive intention, but at the same time are replacements for this unhealthy or undesirable behavior that you're looking to work on. So in a very simple way, you bring about that. And because you're working at the level of the automaticity, the change that you're looking for comes automatically without you having to make a conscious effort to do that. Think of it like a rewiring inside the brain. So what Cornelia Andreas did is that one fine day, she said, maybe the positive intention has a positive intention behind it. And then she started noticing that maybe there's a chain, and she started playing with this. She said, okay, I noticed that I'm feeling sad about my son leaving for college. Where is the sadness? And she felt, in the felt sensitization, feels in my chest, it feels heavy. What is the positive intention? And you're dialoguing, and then the answer comes connecting. And then you say, okay, that's the positive intention. And then you invite the part to step into what it is to feel connected, wholly and completely. And then what happens is, then once that whole thing is experienced and you feel connection, then you say, hey, you want to feel connected for a particular reason. What is the intention behind being connected? And then you say, love. And then you go and say, okay, step into what it is to feel love totally and completely. And then you ask, hey, behind love, there must be an intention. What is it behind that? And then comes up, say, for her, oneness. And then you go into it, and she describes that this is a core state. That when you go behind positive intention, behind positive intention, behind positive intention, whether it's 3, 5, or 10, eventually you hit something known as a core state. And that's when you will have what we call as an evolved mind pattern. That really you get into an evolved mind pattern, and then you take that and you bring it over to the whole thing and to the original issue. And you find that you can no longer think of the original issue in the same disturbing way or in the way it used to disturb you. You find yourself completely transformed. So it will be very much akin to the personal transformation meditation that you see in Anna Weiss's work.